We are live and finally back. Week 0 recap. Myself, my guy, Coach Fred, here on the Blue Bloods official show of FCS Football Central on SI. Coach, we finally got some football to talk about, man. We finally saw some guys get out there, ball out, and man, you guys can see not in studio. I've been up here in Mississippi, man, with Coach. Coach got me up here in Vicksburg. I've been out in the heat, man. Coach, I don't know why y'all are psycho. Listen, this morning wasn't bad. This morning felt so good when we first got out there. Yesterday was a problem. Dude, about hour 2 of that practice, I was like, Jesus Christ, I don't miss this. I was having flashbacks. But how are we feeling, Coach?
Man, pretty good, pretty good. Out the heat, finishing up a couple night meetings. Hey, almost there, almost go time.
I'm gonna say this. Listen, man, we got some really, really good mic'd up content coming your way, man. And I'll say this, Coach Watson might be the funniest coach in college football, man. And Coach, I can't wait for you to hear it. It went from, and I'll say this, being the offensive line coach, I was having flashbacks with some of the drills too. I was like, man, I don't miss this. The grass was wet. You know how it is. It's a big offensive lineman. It was uncomfortable for some of those guys. I can only imagine. So, but man, Coach, we had a Jordan debate. We had a UFC boxing debate today. It was interesting to say the least. So I can't wait for y'all to see that. But Coach, let's start here. Oh yeah, you know how it is with offensive linemen, man. The tightest group on the team. Man, we had 5 games this weekend, Coach. Now we won't spend a lot of time on one of them. I do want to say this. Shout out to Delaware State, Coach. 40-point underdogs, 35-14. They were tied going into the third quarter, probably mid-third quarter. They were tied, only down by 7 going into the fourth. Now, obviously, Hawaii pulls away late, but you got to give Marquis Adams and that Delaware State team a little bit of credit for hanging in there. But, Coach, I want to start here. And it was the first game of the day. It was our game of the week. Tarleton State escapes 26-23 against McNeese. This game shifted, Coach. I mean, I texted you, I think, at halftime and was like, man, Tarleton might put 60 on these guys. Well, then Victor, starting quarterback, apparently, Coach, had a thumb injury. I think he banged hit his hand on a player's helmet. And Coach Witten said he wasn't able to grip the football very well. And, as a quarterback, if your throwing hand can't grip the football, it's a wrap. Coach, I want to say this. Once Victor left the game, and Timothy did some really, really good work at kind of analyzing this, 24 successful plays in the first half with Victor as the starting quarterback. They only had 5 successful plays after he left, all run plays, and they only had 1 drive go over 25 total yards in the second half without Victor. Completely changed the game. Coach, your takeaways from this one?
That right there, and shout out to my guy Timothy. That tells you everything that you need to know about this game. Had he stayed in, but that's the beauty of this game, man. A bounce, an injury, one miss, one step, as they said. What was that? Any given Sunday, half an inch too late this way, whatever. No truer statement, man. When that happened, that was the turning point, so to speak. And shout out to Tarleton for holding it together. But you can tell who's the leader. You can tell the guy that they really believe in. Because the momentum went downhill. It almost all fell off the table when he got hurt. But, again, those things, and what is our reoccurring theme to if you want to win a game, you cannot have turnovers. And McNeese had how many? So
4, I think.
And you're trying to capitalize on a misfortune of someone, on an injury, and you turn it over 4 times, that ain't helping you. That ain't helping your cause.
And then also, man, I got to give a shout out to this guy, Coach. I think you played against him even when he was in the SWAC. I mean, Kayvon Britton is as advertised as a ball player. 25 carries, 164 yards, Coach, 6.6 yards per carry. The kid was just a workhorse, and I think what happened is, Coach, as good as Tarleton's wide receiving core is, I don't know. Let me say this. Okay, so I don't know the mindset of the coaching staff. Maybe Jaden Pete is a better quarterback than I'm giving him credit for, and they just weren't sure in that moment. Coach is 26-7. Maybe they handcuffed him a little bit and didn't want him to do anything crazy, but 1 for 8 for 4 yards and -5 yards rushing is a quarterback. If you generate -1 yard in a half, man,
Yeah,
Coach, if Victor's out for an extended amount of time, this team goes from potentially being a playoff team to, are you above 500? Because Kayvon Britton can't carry the ball in 10-man boxes because they couldn't throw the football.
right. And it's going to be I think that's going to be the telltale, how hurt the hand actually is. Because like you said, for that kid to have to run the ball 25 times a game, and they know that's what you're going to do, is going to be really, really tough to keep up that pace. And then, being up 3 scores, I can understand it. But when that thing started to turn, I think you either show that you've got confidence in it, or you play that tick, 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 tick game. And I think that's what they ended up doing. And, this week is going to be very important for them, especially if that grip doesn't get any better for the starter. So, yeah, that was a telltale to me. And like you said, I've been driving this thing like you did last year for Albany. I'm driving it. Now I'm starting to look back in the back seat to make sure, we got everybody with us to see what's going on. Because it could be rough pickings, man, going forward if he's out for an extended time.
I'll say this. He shouldn't play next week. Coach, they play Baylor. No reason to go out there. Just sit him. Give them 2 weeks to recover. You get who do they play after that? I think it's North Alabama, maybe, or no, Houston Christian. Houston Christian on the 7th, and then they play North Alabama on the 21st. So, Coach, you have Baylor next week. You play Houston Christian, then you get a bye week.
Got a chance to rest him up.
Yeah, so I think hopefully he's okay. Last question on this game, Coach. Your thoughts on Clifton's performance? There was a lot of hype, man. 14 for 20, 245 through the air, 2 touchdowns, 67 rushing yards, and a pick. Is this what you expected? And let's just be honest, man. His second half was electric. The fourth quarter, that's where he thrives. He thrives in chaos. He thrives from coming behind when he could just be a playmaker. Coach, let me say this real quick. First quarter, the touchdown pass was beautiful that he hit. I think it was a little fade route that he threw. The wide receiver was open, but he put it on the mark. But from the mid first quarter to the third quarter, I saw the same playoff Clifton McDowell that we talked about. And, I understand there was an injury last year, but he just hesitated. He wasn't the playmaker that I love to see in that Montana State game, middle of the season for Montana. But then in the fourth quarter, I saw him jump back into his bag where he would take off and run if it wasn't there. If he would get out of the pocket, make a play, he was accurate. He was confident. If Clifton McDowell can find that rhythm and play like that all year, I think McNeese can win some games. It's just that offense was atrocious for 2.5, 3 quarters outside of that first scoring drive. They have to find their rhythm, and maybe it clicked, but I need to see what they do against Southern this weekend before I make a true assessment on Clifton and this offense.
I think that's going to be big because, like you said, we kind of followed him down the stretch, and Idaho, Clifton, and the other Clifton are 2 different people. And they've got to figure out which Clifton is going to show up, and he's got to figure out which Clifton he's going to play as, because at the end of the day, I think he finds himself in another scenario as I'm pulling up his numbers. He finds himself in another scenario where this team is going to go as he goes. And, I hope he doesn't figure it out until maybe week 6. Let me make sure. Yeah,
maybe 6. Next week. Maybe next week and then lose it.
And forget it and then figure it out again, and kind of go from there. But, I don't know if he gets kind of wrapped up into I'm going to show that that I can stay in here and make it happen. When clearly to me, his game is an all-around game. And when he's doing that and, like you said, playing fast and free, he's a lot better player. And we're going to have to go back and edit this because I kind of mentioned his name a couple times. But anyway, he's on his last year of eligibility, so
you can't recruit him anymore. I don't
yeah,
think I don't think he
I think he's
can
done.
he can
Yeah,
go anywhere else.
yeah, he's done.
I will say this, and Coach, we'll talk about this on Wednesday because we're going to do our preview episode Wednesday. Obviously, Coach is going to be coaching on Thursday night, so we're not doing a show on Thursday from the field in Birmingham. Next week might be a must-win game for both of these teams in McNeese and Southern. With
Yes.
Terrence Graves' debut, if McNeese loses that game, things probably start to unravel. We'll get to that game, but God, that's going to be such an interesting game again. Coach, we'll go here. Montana State pulls it off, man. First FBS win of the year for the FCS subdivision. Coach, even though Montana State was 13.5-point favorites, they were down early. Two fumble return for touchdown, and really good blitzes by New Mexico. Tommy didn't see him coming, didn't get rid of the ball quick enough, in my opinion. Two defensive touchdowns really kind of put this game away at one point for New Mexico. 21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter for Montana State. And Coach, tell me where you've heard this before. Even in an FBS game, Montana State ran the football, even though they were trailing by double digits, by 17. They ran the football 47 times for 362 yards, 8 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns. Coach, your takeaways from the Bobcats?
I couldn't believe they were running the ball. Being down, I thought maybe, okay, this was their way of waving the white flag, and we're just going to work on us. But, again, that's who they are, and that's what they do, and they stuck to it. And, 500, almost 600 yards later, they're victorious. So shout out to the FCS division for pulling that win off. But that was as impressive as it gets. And you're talking about a time of possession where they almost had the ball for 35 minutes, and you're down. So It wasn't like, we're going to go out here and we're going to just throw it all over the place. They stuck to what they do. Tommy threw the ball decent, 200 plus yards. I think that's all you could really ask for. But when you got a guy that's going to carry it for 167, and then you got another guy that's going to almost give you 150 in the same ball game, I mean, pick your poison, baby. What do we want to do today?
Coach, let me tell you. I don't even think Adam Jones was on the depth chart before the game. That kid's a true freshman.
Yeah, you didn't talk about him. You talked about Scotty.
So just to put in perspective, everybody, Scotty was a starter because Julius Davis, their starting running back, was out. Their freshman All-American last year didn't play at running back. And their third string, if I'm not mistaken, didn't play either. And so their four-string true freshman running back ran for 167 yards and averaged 10 yards per carry. Coach, I've never seen anything like this.
No, that's absolutely great.
And Coach, I know we can spend forever talking about this, but this game plan in this game, in my opinion, should be one of the ones that they teach in coaching clinics, where even if you're down, stick to what you do well. Don't abandon your game plan because you're down 17-0 early. Montana State knew Tommy Malot's not a guy who can go out there and throw it 45, 50 times. Plus, the wind was crazy in this game, blowing cameras off the stadium and everything.
Right.
They knew what they did well, and they ran the football and stuck to it, man. So I think that was the biggest thing. I'll say this. As great as the offensive line was in terms of run blocking, I am a little bit concerned about the pass protection. And I think, and I talked about this with Timothy on the audio version, I think losing your All-American center for this game, because the center is the quarterback of the offensive line, I think they missed some blitz pickups, which led to Tommy getting blindsided on some of those blitzes. Now, New Mexico did a great job of disguising them, but you do have a guy who's not used to being the quarterback of the offensive line. And I do think that showed itself. But if you're Tommy, Coach, you know this, and I'm sure you guys tell Mako this, if you see a blitz coming and you got to get rid of the football, don't try to do too much. That's what happened. I think Tommy held onto the ball a little bit too long, and New Mexico was able to take advantage, and that's fixable. But I thought Montana State's defense adjusted well because they were getting killed in the first half. And listen, I don't know what New Mexico is going to be this year, Coach, but they got their guy at quarterback. Dampier is
Yes.
going to be a problem. That kid is that kid's a freak athlete, and I think once he kind of refines his passing, man, that kid's going to be so good. And I really do think he's a guy you could see playing at the P5 level eventually. We know how it goes with the transfer portal. Somebody's going to pick that kid up. I saw a lot of promise out of him. But, Coach, super impressive win for Montana State. I want to go here quickly before we get into our game of the week. We won't spend too much time on this game. SEMO defeats Northern Alabama 37-15. Coach, me and you both missed this game. Had a little bit higher hopes for UNA. I think there were some things that we could talk about that I saw that they did wrong. But, Coach, look at SEMO. Paxton DeLaurent leaves the game with injury, doing too much on a run. I think he should have slid, tried to do too much, got lit up by the safety. It happens. He was 14-17 with a touchdown, almost 100 yards. The backup comes in, does an okay job. I think it took him a while to gel. But, Coach, they also have a true freshman running back who 19 carries, 97 yards, 3 touchdowns, wins MVP honors. Coach, I think they found their Geno Hess replacement.
Oh, easily. And it's that happened in, I don't want to say a blessing or however you want to put it, but finding that kid, I think they don't find him if their QB goes down. I don't think they find him this game. Let's put it that way, to be able to tote the rock the way that he toted the rock. And, I think I'm going to go back to the team that we picked, and I'm not going to voice too much of my disappointment, but you know how I am. Yeah. We've got to be able to throw for more than 100 yards. And if, that's not the game, that's not what we are, then that's fine. But you've got to be able to throw for more than 100. You got to. At this level, you got to be able to throw for more than 100 if you want to give yourself an opportunity. For throwing for 100 yards and 4 turnovers, that's just not going – you're not going to win many games, man.
The story of the weekend, turnovers are going to kill you. And I'll say this, Coach. Listen, if I look tired, I am tired, man. Driving to Lorman, being at practice, Coach, I've still found time. I don't think I went to bed in the hotel till about 2. And, we were back up at Lorman at 6:30 this morning. Yeah. So I rewatched this game. I rewatched every game we talked about, or we're going to talk about today. Ari played super well in the first half, Coach. He was confident making the throws. His picks, one was you probably shouldn't have put it there, but it was a 50-50 ball that, it was just a bad read. The other one hit the wide receiver in the chest, and he dropped it, and it was picked. So not really, I'm not putting that on the quarterback per se with that one, but Coach, I think he started pressing in the second half. Once Paxton went out of the game, once Paxton went out of the game, I felt this is one of the weird cases, Coach, where the quarterback going out of the game for SEMO put more pressure on North Alabama because they felt like they should be pulling away, and when they didn't, I think it impacted the team because they were like, man, they just lost their best player, and we still can't get it done.
Yeah,
and I think that impacted him, and I do think Ari is going to be a solid starter, but I think he pressed too much, and I thought he did a good job on the ground. I think he had 52 with a touchdown. Javian Allen at running back for North Alabama, man, 13 carries, 100 yards, a touchdown, really solid. I needed to see more out of the wide receivers for North Alabama. Really disappointed there. Yes. I thought with SEMO though, man, they lose Flournoy to the draft, balling out with the Cowboys right now. Dorian Anderson and Cam Pedro had a really, really good game. I think they combined for 11 for just over 100 and a touchdown. I think SEMO, we got some answers on them, Coach. If Paxton comes back, I think based on what I saw, if things start trending in the right direction for them, SEMO could be a really, really dark horse contender for the Big South OVC, be right there with UT Martin, Tennessee State, Eastern Illinois for that conference. Man, I was really impressed given all the question marks that they had going into this game.
Yeah, and then, to lose your key piece, I think, shows the overall shell of what they have. And if they get him back and, I'm kind of like you, it's one of these deals of where like Albany last year where they catch fire. I could see that happening. You pull off a 37-15 win and your best player exit the game, and you're still rolling. And defensively, you did a really good job as well. And they say that big jump comes between this week and next week. So we will see with them having what they got, New Mexico State.
Yep.
So, I mean,
probably not a win, but we'll see. Well, hopefully they can keep it
let's
competitive.
See where you're at. Yeah, let's see where you're at.
Coach, the game everyone wants to talk about, and we'll probably spend the rest of the show on this one.
Delaware, Hawaii.
MEAC SWAC. Yeah, Delaware State, Hawaii. But no, man, the MEAC SWAC Challenge, FAMU, game 1 of the Colsey era, 24-23 win. Overcame an early 14-0 deficit. Coach, let me say this. There were a lot of panic buttons being pressed early on. I mean, the way that
what?
The way that Norfolk came out in that game was so impressive. The offensive line put on a clinic those first 2 drives for Norfolk. FAMU's front 7 did not want any of what they were bringing into this game. But this is, Coach, I'm going to say it, and this is no disrespect to Norfolk. What happened over the next 3 quarters is what separates championship teams from average teams. And that's what you saw.
No doubt about it. Heart of a champion. And yes, I did think that this game would be a runaway by the fourth quarter. And I think Norfolk came out and they had a game plan for that not to happen, so to speak. And then I think that game plan for that not to happen turned into goal. And, the game plan, we're going to keep it on the ground, let the timing rules take over. And lo and behold, we found something on the ground. So let's make it happen. Yeah. Very good ball game, but I don't know if you can speak to the heart of FAM's kids not throwing in the towel, and they very well could have. Watching the sideline, the demeanor never changed. But, hats off to Norfolk, close only counts in horseshoes, but that was very, very, very impressive. Very impressive.
Coach, we talked today at practice about this. Yeah, about these close games where, there's teams. So, I always like to kind of look at this where there's teams that lost a lot of close games, let's say a year ago. The next year, if they learn how to win, those are usually your breakout teams.
Yeah.
But there's also those teams who just never get there. It never clicks for them on how to win close games. And that's kind of what we're getting at with Dawson right now, where, Coach, this was the 7th or 8th game that they've lost by 1 score now, going back to a year or 2 ago. So it's just, I think they got too conservative. I'm gonna say it. I think they got too conservative at times. Coach, was Jalen as good as Otto Coons would have been? Probably not. Did he have as much trust as Otto would have had if Otto could have started? Probably not. But, Coach, you didn't trust him to throw 10 passes? 10 he threw 9 passes and completed 7 of them.
I just feel like, and again, sitting in the chair, being one of the guys with the collar shirt, never want to criticize, do any of that, but I just felt like at one point you were playing with house money. You're up 14 and you're inside the opponent's, red zone. That first one, I'm like, I think it was 4th and short 2, maybe. I'm like
4th and 1, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm like, go, because you could throw the knockout punch right now. You literally could throw the knockout punch right now. Go for it. But hey, their number said different. They go for it. They roll the snap back, and their defense stands a challenge again. But you only get so many of those opportunities as the underdog, so to speak. And you're trying to upset the champion. You're playing with house money. hey man, let's go. And we're running the ball at 8 yards a clip.
Oh no, they were averaging 12 yards a carry at that point.
At that point, I mean, let's put it to the test.
There were two moments that I think lost this game. One came, it was, I'm pulling it up so I get the time right. 4 minutes and 34 seconds in the second quarter, Coach. What was the score? 14-10. FAM just got that field goal. You have 4th and 1 at the FAMU 17. You're averaging 12 yards per carry up the middle. They can't stop you at this point.
Gotta go.
You roll out your kick. You roll out your kicker out there. You get a field goal block. FAM starts to drive where they would have if you would have went forward and not gotten it. Don't put points on the board there. And even though FAM didn't go on and score, in the subsequent drive, Coach, that changed the momentum of the game. And I said this last night on HBCU Nightly, and I asked KJ Black and Josh Sims this, both of which have been OCs at various levels as an offensive lineman coach. And I'm sure we can ask some of the Alcorn offensive linemen how they felt about it too. We've been rolling this front seven all game. You didn't trust us to get you a yard? With us, right. Coach, Jalen Daniels is 6'5", 220 pounds. We couldn't get a yard?
You got to, what's that? The freaking Bush push. You got a 6'5" quarterback there. You had several options. And like I said, I mean, at that point, man, you got a chance to you avoided the first one that you roll back. The second one you roll out there, you get blocked. I think at that point you're playing with house money. You're still living good at this point because you're still winning by more than a score. So, again, I don't know what their percentage chart says, do this, do that. But I think on that first one, man, I think you got to throw that tush push. That's it. I think you've got to try to throw that haymaker, man.
And then the other one, and here's how I feel, Coach. And I talked to you and Coach Watson about this today. We couldn't block the extra point, so I'm fine with going for 2. I know there were some people that were like, just kick the extra point, go to overtime. At the end of the day, your defense still has to make a stop. You've allowed 2 blocks on field goals and extra points in this game. You got to go for 2, and you got an extra what? Because they had a all sides penalty. So what? You're at the 1 or 2 now.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so
the 1.5,
and then again, and Coach, I know it's hindsight at the end of the day, and we're on here, analyzing what happened after. Coach, your quarterback is not an athletic. He's athletic, but he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Mako. He's not. He's not Kincaid. He's not any of these just dual threat guys. A read option. A read option is what we're calling right there. With trips on the other side?
Again, I'm good with it. Put something on it, but I think you got to give him the two-way go. I would like to see Coach to give him the two-way go, run pass option on that deal.
Yep. Just run it up the middle again.
Well, that too. I at some point during that game, I think like you text or whatever, we're kind of texting. I was so ready to say that I told you that Hunt kid was the most important kid that they lost because they couldn't stop the run up the middle. And then they found a way to plug the holes and slow it down a little bit. But, I think the blueprint is there now. FAM has got some work to do because I think the next couple ball games, they're going to see a heavy dose of it to see if it's fixed. Norfolk, they better have a special teams answer because anytime they get back there to kick it, everybody and their mama's rushing it now. So, it's one of those deals now where, I'll be interested to see what Coach Barry comes into FAM with. We all know what he likes to do offensively. So that's created a game plan in itself. to me. And now we'll see what FAM has, what FAM has done to patch it up.
I'll say this. I needed to see more out of FAM's line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Defensive, I think James Ash has some pretty good plays at D tackle. Offensive line, I was not impressed with. With 4 guys back with returning experience, Norfolk dominated the line of scrimmage for the most part in the run game. Now, they couldn't get a lot of pressure in terms of pass rush situations, but FAM's got to establish themselves at the line of scrimmage better moving forward. And maybe it's just week 0. And I want to say this. We have
True.
to be careful not to have overreactions in week 0, because we saw a lot of stuff in week 0 last year that necessarily wasn't the case. And I'm not going to name any names, but there were some
I'll
players that
do
really popped week 0. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, there was a quarterback in Jackson, Mississippi that looked like a world beater in week 0, ended up not being. So let's just, I don't want to overreact, but there are some things that you take away from this game, and it's like, okay, I need to see FAM improve on. Now, I want to say this. And Coach, you know me, I'm a man of my word on this, and I said I would come on here and say this if it became the case, but I'm not ready to jump on the bandwagon yet, and I know you aren't either. We talked about this before the show. Daniel Richardson played way better than I thought he was going to, and he sold me a little bit on it. Now I need to see it in week 2, week 3, week 4, and him growing his game. But in terms of his overall composure, because Coach, it started rough for Richardson. And
Oh, I
to
know that.
see his composure take over in the second half, if they don't fumble on that on what was it, their second to last or third to last drive in the second half, if they don't fumble, they played a perfect second half game offensively. And Daniel Richardson's confidence was through the roof. And Coach, 2 of his 3 touchdown passes, he audibled at the line of scrimmage because he read the coverage and switched into a play that was better for that situation and threw touchdown passes on both of those. That's the experience factor that I think that could have been missing with some other transfers. And Richardson, Coach, he is on the way to making me a believer, man, because I thought he played a hell of a game starting from like late second quarter onward.
And I think people may have forgotten or not really paid attention to the fact that he has real game time snaps at the FBS level. So it was a thing of where the coaching staff did a great job of finding a couple easy throws for him to get himself settled. And I think, the couple play calls, the first touchdown with the slant wheel, I think that was a really good call, something easy for him to sort through and get to. So I think, he's still got to improve. And again, I think Norfolk has given Coach Barry and those guys a blueprint, man, which is going to which makes this matchup very, very good and intriguing, because now we know what Coach O, we know what Coach Barry wants to do. And we know the defense of how his defensive teams have played the last couple of years at Benedict. So now, he wants to run it. FAM has shown that they struggle to stop the run. He's going to put pressure. FAM has shown that they struggle with the pressure on the offensive line, like you just said. So, this game is going to be really, really intriguing to see who fixes what first.
Yeah. One last point, then we got a question in the chat, man. We'll wrap this up. I know you got meetings tonight. Jamari Gassett is that guy, a wide receiver. If he continues to take a step forward, especially with his special team prowess, there's a conversation we have to have that he might be the best wide receiver in the SWAC if he continues to put up this production. I mean, 8 for 110, 2 touchdowns, had that big punt return that set up that first touchdown drive. Gassett was everywhere, and that secondary had no answers for him, man. That kid has it all based on the film. The other thing is, Coach, as deep as their running back room is, Kelvin Dean, Thad Franklin, Somerset was named the starter. A lot of hype coming into the season. Didn't see it.
No.
I mean, even with how good Dean played, that fumble, inexcusable at that point of the game. Gotta protect. I mean, you're just Coach. If they don't have that fumble, they probably win by 2 scores. In Norfolk territory, what are we doing? Protect the football. So I think FAMU's rushing attack run blocking with the offensive line, it has to be more improved. And Yant's gone, Mike, in the chat. Yant's graduated, so Yant's not there. But Coach, I mean, those were my final thoughts. I wanted to ask this question, man. Shout out to HBCU Man Talk, man, for joining the YouTube membership. Paris wants to know, asked us, would you say Norfolk lost the game or FAMU won it?
I'm going to say okay, Paris.
This is a tough question. I know.
Okay, Paris. But just because I'm the riverboat gambler, so to speak, I'm going to say that Norfolk lost it, because to me, after that first one you roll back there, man, it's going to be tough for me. Plus, with all that happened in the pregame, it's going to be tough for me to really trust that unless I just got to trust it. After that first one, I'm not going to put it in harm's way anymore unless it's just something ridiculous, 4th and 5 or better, but I'm not going to put that out there. So I'm going to say they lost it. I think they kind of took the foot off the gas early. So, yeah, I'm going with that one there, Paris. Good question.
Yeah, the true answer, Paris, and then I'll give you my answer. It was a little bit of both, because Norfolk did get conservative, but man, FAM did make some really good adjustments, especially defensively in that second half. So I'm gonna go FAM won it, just because I always like to say that I get it, because here's the dilemma, Coach, and you know exactly what I'm going to say here. There's this thing, like, let's say Alcorn and Jackson play. Alcorn has 6 turnovers and they lose the game. Alcorn fans are going to say, "Oh, we gave it away. We had 6 turnovers. Coach, we turned the football over 6 times." Well, you know what Jackson fans are going to say? We forced 6 turnovers.
Sure.
Well, so that's the dilemma here with it. I think FAMU won it because the biggest of 2 adjustments I think I saw, Coach. One, Henry found his bag as a play caller. And Coach, you've called plays, you've been involved with the offensive scheme. Henry in that early second half was blacked out. He was just like, he was closing his eyes, picking a play, and it was working. He found what made Richardson comfortable, and that was the biggest adjustment offensively all game. Richardson was not comfortable in the first half. Henry made the adjustments offensively to make Richardson comfortable and let him be himself. And you saw the confidence start building in Richardson, and they just went with it. They abandoned the run for a bit. It's Richardson's game. Number 10 is going to win this game, and he did. He played outstanding. Defensively, Coach, they shored up their run fits and they started scheming a little bit better in terms of how to get into the backfield, how not to allow the crease up the middle. Because, Coach, I don't know if you know this, KJ Black told me this last night. If you remember, we talked about Eric Horn at linebacker as a breakout player for FAM, and he made those 2 big plays. He stopped the 2-point conversion, everything. He went to the wrong gap on that first touchdown run. FAM benched him for 2 quarters. And when he came back in the second half, he made those plays. I think the accountability factor in making those defensive adjustments was huge, because even though Norfolk had that 1 touchdown drive, Coach, they did not run the ball as effectively as they did in the first half. And I think you got to give credit to FAM for making those defensive adjustments.
Well, I'm not going to take anything away from them. They did. But, I mean, I'm going to throw this out there, and I just need you to understand what I'm saying when I throw this out there.
I got you.
All right. The QB was 7 of 9.
Yep.
For Norfolk, right? 7 of 9. Yep. FAM said, you know what? We're going to put everybody and their grandma in this box, and we're going to dare you to throw it.
Yep.
And that sewed up the run fits. That put people where they needed to be in different gaps. And I'm not saying it, but I'm just saying, if you're going to put 13 in the box,
we got to throw it.
We've got to be able to find a way, which is why I say they kind of took their foot off. Hey, our defense is handling it. We're handling it. We'll let it tick. We'll keep playing special teams ball. We'll punt, you punt. We'll punt, you punt. And then when they lost the lead, I think it was just one of those deals where it was like, okay, it's still within reach, but, they were never really forced to have to throw it. So, just play, special teams and get it done. But I think the fit is going to be this game coming up, which I know we'll preview. If South Cat can throw it at all, it's going to be, did FAMU really fix their run fits that second half, or did they just add more bodies and now dare them to pass? And now SC say, oh, we can pass it. Now what are you going to do? So, we'll see.
That's why I said it could be either one. It's a little bit of both because, like, I just don't understand. Because, Coach, Norfolk was what, double-digit underdogs? I think it was like 12,
Yeah.
13. You're playing with house money.
Yep.
Throw the football. And they did on that last touchdown drive. Didn't he have like the 40, 50-yard pass over the top?
Yep.
And he threw a good ball. I'll say this too. The other thing with FAM is, and I've heard some fans say this too, and I agree with them, I think they still have to figure out who's going to play across from Kendall Bowler. The kid that they had on the other side at corner.
Yeah, I'm not even messing with Bowler. Why?
I think he was number 8. Someone could correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. The guy, the guy across from Bowler had a horrible night in the second half.
Yeah.
Every time they threw it, like they were picking on him, and I don't get it because I get it because you don't want to throw it 3. That kid's different. Stay away from 3.
Who was the guy that played opposite of Dion at the Cowboys?
I don't remember his name, but yeah, I know what you're talking about here.
Made a lot of money because no one was going to go to that side. We're going to say, this is where we're going. And then when he didn't have that other side, everybody's like, oh, man, they paid this guy millions, but the other guy was on the other side. That's why he got all these opportunities. I'm not even playing with KB over there. Have at it. This is where we're going. We're going to see what you got over here, Yep. So, yeah, you're right. They've got to figure that out. You're right.
Real quick, Coach. And this is a good question, Hattie. You saw this on the second drive of the game, Coach.
Oh, my
kids throwing up on the field, cramping on Norfolk's side, and Dawson Odom said that one of the other reasons he went for 2 is he didn't know if his team had the gas for overtime. Just from you and a collar shirt perspective, not really talking about Norfolk as a program, I know you don't want to do that. Talk about conditioning in these early season games. Why do you think it affected Norfolk so much compared to FAM?
I don't know, because I text somebody during that game that was associated with the program, like, what the hell are y'all feeding these kids in pregame, man? Like, how long ago did you eat? So all that stuff kind of, plays a part in it. But when we're talking about conditioning, for us, we've put an emphasis on that because, you don't ever want to go out there in every other play. This is the beginning of the year. We know what happens. It happens every year. Don't be that guy. So, you were out here with us and, we turn it up. Not to say that when we get to Alabama that it's not going to happen. Hell, I might cramp up. I don't know. But at the end of the day, we've done what we needed to do to try to keep that from happening. But the whole food thing, I didn't understand that because you're supposed to eat within a certain amount of time and, not to gross anybody out. That looked like a full course. That wasn't, a few snacks in the locker room where you have, some fruit and some stuff like that to get you through. No. So, that's maybe one of those things where their timing was off a little bit. They didn't clear that window to let your food digest kind of deal or something like that. But, conditioning plays a huge part early on, especially when you're playing on turf and you're playing in these mid-evening type games. So, it plays a huge part.
I'll say this. Today, when y'all were running them gassers, I was upset for them. Man, because it was hot at that point, and you guys were out there forever. I was like, I heard Coach say, get on the line. I said, uh-oh. And I was like, I'm glad I'm not out here anymore. I'm glad I ain't got a jersey on. I will say that conditioning thing, and then we'll wrap this up, is I do think that led to the last drive. Coach, they went 11 plays, 63 yards, 6 minutes and 30 seconds to close out the game.
Yes.
That was the difference. FAM had gas in the tank, and Norfolk didn't, and they just walked it down the field, and they probably score on that drive if time doesn't run out.
Yep.
That was the difference in the second half, Coach. It was conditioning. It was discipline. It was execution, all that, man. And I think Coach, and I hate to say this, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. And I said this before the game that I thought FAM was the more talented team. I think you saw it in the second half.
Oh
That
yeah,
the
they're
best
over.
team on
Yeah,
the best
Fame
team on the
overcome.
field was FAMU.
Yeah.
Man, last thing, Coach, wide receiver of the week and your biggest winner and biggest loser of week 0.
Oh man, you know the receiver of the week, man. Fly zone receiver of the week. Uh, JG FAMU. If anybody
That's it.
knows it, man, tell them to get at me. Get at Blue. Get an address, man, so we can get these fly zone gloves to him. Very impressive. 8-110, 14, 2 touchdowns. And the thing that I liked about him most was that it wasn't all go balls. He's actually out there running routes, and he put them on his back. And I know the quarterback won the award for the deal, but I really think if he doesn't make that catch early on to help settle the tide, settle them in, I think this kind of gets away from them in the first quarter. So I mean the first half. So I think JG, receiver of the week, fly zone receiver of the week, 8 for 110, 14 yards, 2 touchdowns. And my biggest, I don't want to say loser, my biggest disappointment, I can say it. I just expected so much more out of Alabama, man.
Yep.
North Al. I had them on the trending way up. And I think once they got to middle of the third quarter, they really had no more fight left, so to speak. It wasn't a strain anymore for them. And I thought that was one of the things that their program was building on. So, for me, I go North Al in that situation.
Yeah. Biggest winner?
Man, biggest winner. Yeah, I mean, you got to go, Rattler Nation, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But I also think the biggest winner in this week 0 was actually Delaware State. They had the flyest trip ever. Once they got there, you get to play in the wild, man, and you actually play good ball. That's got to be a win-win, even though you lost. So I'm going to go with that one.
Marquis Adams is going to be a star, by the way. I really like that kid's game. I mean, he's just a playmaker. You got to give him credit now. I don't know how much talent he's surrounded by, and maybe we'll see where he ends up. But man, that kid's just a baller. I think the biggest winner to me, Coach, is
Hey, hold on. Dustin said, I finally got the comments to come up.
Biggest loser of the week is America for having to watch McNeese and Tarleton. Listen, Coach, I mean, yeah, you remember the haters ball?
Yeah, hey.
That's Dustin with Tarleton. That's Dustin with Tarleton. He isn't going to give Tarleton any credit, Coach. I think I really want to go with Montana State because now I think with this win they really set themselves up if they get past Montana to possibly go undefeated this year. But I'm gonna go SEMO because that game could have got way out of hand once Paxton went down. Yep. They found a way to win even without their quarterback. If he can get back, SEMO's due for a big season. I think the biggest loser, Norfolk, man, you another 1-score loss, and it's just a game of what ifs, man. Like there's like you could make a whole trophy case full of haunting losses right now in Norfolk at Virginia. So I think Norfolk's the biggest loser, and I'm with you, man. Gassett was by far the best wide receiver. I think this weekend. I think Darius Cooper had some plays. I think McCullough for Montana State was there, and yeah. Listen, I'm excited for this week, man. I think we're going to find out a lot about a lot of these week 0 teams, man. Montana State, we won't find anything out till later in the season. They're just that good. But FAM with South Carolina State, Coach, coming to town. Chinnis Berry. Ooh, I can't wait for that one. And I see people in the chat saying me and you both predicted big wins for FAM, and I still stand on it, man. Going into the game, I thought FAM was the better team, man. And
I said they were running away second half.
Yeah.
I did.
And like Adrian said, I did say this, and I've voiced that what concerns I have now. I am a little bit more worried about FAMU. I think quarterback, not as worried, but I'm much more concerned about the O-line, D-line right now than I was going into the game, just because I didn't see the level of execution that I expected from an experienced unit for the offensive line. And I think defensive line coach, they had a lot of transfers. James Ash came back, so maybe they just need time to gel. But those are my biggest concerns from the game with FAMU, man. But listen, I'm still cool with it. Hey, 3-1. Wait, no, 4-1 on predictions for I think both of us. Both of us missed the UNA game.
Yep.
Let me down on that one. But man, we're gonna have a bunch of picks. Me and Coach will be back live Wednesday. You can check out the audio version of our recap. Myself and Timothy Rosario out tomorrow morning. Check out the website si.com/college/FCS. And me and Coach will be releasing some really, really good content from this week. Alcorn State practices, man. Listen, this hotel Wi-Fi is weak right now, so it's going to take me a little time to process some of these mic'd up videos, man, because they're in 4K. So just give me time. They'll be out very, very soon. But for Coach Fred, myself, the Bluebloods, FCS Football Central, man, we'll see y'all in week 1.
Yes,
but
sir,
for right
Dustin.
now,
yes, sir, Dustin.
Hey, that's a fact, man. And shout out to Dustin, man. Hey, I need to see all you guys in Lorman for that Soul Bowl, man. That game of the year.
You said you were coming. You were coming.
Game of the year right there, man. But listen, for Coach Fred, myself, the Bluebloods, FCS Football Central, man, we out for right now.